The year was 1957. Philadelphia, a city bustling with life, was in the midst of a cold, relentless winter. The streets were lined with snow and the air was thick with the kind of chill that seeps into your bones. February was ending, but winter still had its icy grip on Philadelphia. The city's residents hurried along, bundled in heavy coats, their breath visible in the frigid air. Few lingered outside longer than they had to, and the parks and wooded areas were all but deserted. In a secluded area known as Fox Chase, something lay hidden in the woods, something that would soon shock the city. The trees stood silent, their bare branches reaching skyward, as if guarding a terrible secret. A young man hoping to impress a girl ventured into the brush. He was searching for wildlife, maybe a rabbit or a bird, something to show off. The woods were quiet except for the crunch of his boots on the frozen ground. There, tossed carelessly amongst the trees and dead leaves, he saw a cardboard box. It looked out of place, battered and damp, as if it had been there for days, ignored by everyone who passed. It was a bassinet, the kind a new mother might use for her baby. The sight of it, abandoned in the cold woods, sent a shiver down his spine. Why would anyone leave something so personal, so intimate out here? Curiosity tugged at him. He cautiously approached, never imagining the horror he was about to uncover. Each step felt heavier, as if the forest itself was warning him to turn back. As he peered inside the box, his blood ran cold. The world seemed to stop, the silence of the woods pressing in around him. There, lying on a thin blanket, was the body of a small boy. The child looked impossibly fragile, his features peaceful yet haunting in the pale winter light. He was naked, his skin pale and covered in what looked like bruises. The marks told a silent story of pain and suffering, a story that no child should ever have to endure. The boy's hair had been recently cut, the clippings scattered around him as if someone had tried to tidy up, to erase their presence. It was a chilling detail suggesting a desperate attempt to hide the truth. The young man stumbled back, heart pounding, and ran for help. Panic and disbelief fueled his every step as he burst from the woods, desperate to find someone who could make sense of what he had seen. He didn't know it then, but he had just stumbled upon a mystery that would haunt Philadelphia for decades to come. The discovery would spark one of the city's most infamous investigations, leaving behind questions that, even today, remain unanswered. Police arrived at the scene, their faces grim as they took in the sight before them. The air was heavy with a sense of dread, and even the most seasoned officers seemed shaken by what they found. The discovery would haunt them for years to come, a mystery that would linger in the city's collective memory. The boy, they estimated, was between the ages of 4 and 6. He was severely undernourished and underweight, his ribs starkly visible beneath his pale, fragile skin. It was clear he had suffered for some time before his death, his small body bearing silent witness to a life of hardship and neglect. The sight was heartbreaking, and the officers could only wonder what kind of life this child had endured. Despite his condition, there was a sweetness to his face, framed by neatly cut, wavy blonde hair. He looked like any child you might see playing in the park, his features innocent and gentle. But the bruises on his body, and the unmistakable stillness of death told a different story. The contrast between his angelic appearance and the violence he had suffered was deeply unsettling, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. The box itself offered few clues. It was a plain cardboard carton, once used to hold a bassinet from J.C. Penney. The manufacturer's markings were clear and easy to read, but the shipping label had been carefully removed, making it impossible to trace its origin. Investigators scoured the box for fingerprints or any sign of who might have handled it, but found nothing. It was as if someone had gone to great lengths to erase any trace of themselves. Inside, along with the boy's body, was a blue corduroy blanket, neatly folded. The care taken in placing the boy in the box, covering him with the blanket, only deepened the mystery. It was a small gesture of tenderness in an otherwise tragic scene, suggesting that whoever left him there may have felt some remorse or sorrow, yet the identity of the boy and the person who placed him in the box remained unknown. Who would go through such lengths to conceal a child's death? Was it an act of desperation, or something far more sinister? The questions swirled in the minds of investigators, and the case would soon become one of the most enduring mysteries in American history. The discovery of the boy, so vulnerable and alone, sent shockwaves through Philadelphia and beyond. Newspapers across the country picked up the story, their front pages splashed with the boy's image. Police distributed thousands of flyers, hoping someone, somewhere, would recognize the child and come forward. They followed up on every lead, no matter how small, but each one led to a dead end. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still, no one came forward to claim the boy. No family reported him missing. No neighbor recognized his picture. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air, only to reappear in that lonely patch of woods, discarded like a broken toy. The silence surrounding his identity was deafening, amplifying the tragedy of his short life and unknown death. How could a child go unnoticed, unmissed? It was a question that gnawed at the conscience of a nation. The lack of answers only fueled speculation. In the absence of concrete evidence, the city became a breeding ground for rumors and theories, each more haunting than the last. The case quickly took on a life of its own, whispered about in hushed tones in diners, on street corners, and behind closed doors. Theories about the boy's identity and what happened to him swirled like the winter wind through Fox Chase. Neighbors eyed each other with suspicion, and every shadow seemed to hold a secret. The cold, biting air carried with it a sense of unease, as if the city itself was mourning the unknown child. Some whispered that he was the victim of a tragic accident, perhaps a hit and run, and that his panicked killer had disposed of his body in a desperate attempt to cover their tracks. The idea of a fleeting moment of carelessness spiraling into a lifetime of guilt haunted the imaginations of many. Others believed he was the product of a forbidden love affair, his existence hidden from the world and his death a tragic consequence of his parents' secret. Whispers of scandal and heartbreak rippled through the community as people speculated about the lengths to which someone might go to protect their reputation. One theory in particular captured the public's imagination. It was a story that seemed to have all the elements of a classic mystery: secrecy, betrayal, and a desperate search for the truth. A woman, claiming to have knowledge of the boy's identity, told police about a nearby foster home. Her account was detailed and emotional, and for a moment, it seemed as if the case might finally have a breakthrough. She suggested the boy might be a child who had gone missing from the home some time ago. The possibility sent shockwaves through the neighborhood, raising questions about the children who lived there and the adults who cared for them. Was it possible that the boy was being hidden, kept secret from the authorities for reasons unknown? Or was there something even darker lurking beneath the surface, a truth too terrible to face? The foster home theory, though ultimately unsubstantiated, added another layer of intrigue to the case, further blurring the lines between truth and speculation. As the investigation dragged on, the whispers in the dark only grew louder, echoing through the city and ensuring that the mystery of the unknown boy would never be forgotten. Years turned into decades, and the mystery of the boy in the box, as he came to be known, remained unsolved. Despite countless hours of investigation, advancements in forensic science, and the tireless efforts of dedicated detectives, the boy's identity remained a heartbreaking enigma. Police chased down every lead, interviewed hundreds of people, and even exhumed the boy's body on multiple occasions, hoping that new technology might unlock the secrets he held. Each new piece of information, each new theory seemed to raise more questions than it answered. The case became a haunting reminder of the fragility of life, of the unknown stories hidden in the shadows of everyday life. The boy in the box, unnamed and unclaimed, became a symbol of lost innocence, his case a testament to the enduring power of mystery and, well, the human need for closure. As the 21st century dawned, so too did new possibilities in the field of forensic science. DNA technology, which was once the stuff of science fiction, was now a powerful tool in criminal investigations. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children took up the boy in the box case, determined to finally give him back his name. In 2019, investigators announced they were partnering with a renowned genetics lab, hoping to extract DNA from the boy's remains and compare it to public databases. The process was painstakingly slow, with the DNA degraded after decades of exposure to the elements, but finally, after months of analysis, a breakthrough came. The lab was able to develop a complete DNA profile for the boy, a genetic fingerprint that could be used to search for potential relatives. For the first time in over 6 decades, there was real hope that the boy in the box might finally be identified. The DNA profile was fed into GEDmatch, a public genealogy database, and the search for relatives began. Within a matter of weeks, genealogists working on the case had identified a potential match, a family living in the Philadelphia area. Further investigation led them to the family's history, revealing a story that had been hidden for far too long. On December 8, 2022, Philadelphia police held a press conference that sent shockwaves across the nation. After 65 years, the boy in the box finally had a name: Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Born in 1953, Joseph had lived a short and tragic life, hidden from the world. While the exact details of his death remained unknown, investigators were finally able to give a name and a history to the child who had haunted Philadelphia for so long. While the identification of Joseph Augustus Zarelli marked a monumental step forward in the case, it also opened a Pandora's box of unanswered questions. Who were Joseph's parents, and what circumstances led to him being abandoned in those woods? Was his death a tragic accident, a result of neglect, or something more sinister? The investigation into Joseph's death continues, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose and the hope that someone, somewhere, holds the key to unlocking the secrets of his short life and tragic end. Police are actively seeking information from the public, hoping that someone will come forward with information that can shed light on the circumstances surrounding Joseph's death. Joseph Augustus Zarelli's story is a stark reminder that even in the darkest of cases, hope can endure. It took over 6 decades, but through the tireless efforts of investigators, the advancements in DNA technology, and the unwavering dedication of those determined to give him back his name, Joseph was finally identified. But the fight for justice is far from over. The mystery of his death remains unsolved, and those responsible for the tragedy that befell him have yet to be held accountable. As we reflect on Joseph's story, let us remember that every child deserves a voice, every life deserves justice. If you have any information, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, please come forward. Help us ensure that Joseph Augustus Zarelli, the boy who was once lost and unknown, finally receives the justice he deserves.